Dear friends, spiritual wisdom is always imparted by the lives of great sages, men and women who have realized that treasure in their life and want to distribute or share it with us. Thereby, our lives also will become illumined, free from anxieties and fears. It will become a life of peace, and also it will be seen as that I have achieved the goal of life. I will see the ray that leads to the my ultimate goal in life. And this is a teaching that comes from all these spiritual giants to us. The sentence that I have chosen to discuss today is a great teaching by Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi, uh, the divine consort of Sri Ramakrishna. Her life was a manifestation of this principle. No one is a stranger. This quote, actually, the full quote, is told as her last advice, her last words almost, told to one of the devotees called Annapurna's mother. So she told, if my child, if you want peace, then do not find faults of others. Look at your own faults. Make the world your own. There is no one a stranger here. Do not treat anybody as stranger. In Bengali, the original words for that, no one is a stranger, is keu por noy, that nobody is apart or separate or a stranger to you. It is a very important principle. This whole last message or last teaching of Holy Mother is really a great topic for meditation, very helpful in our day-to-day practical life. After all, Vedanta is not a dry philosophy to be discussed, but it is a practical message, a psychology that removes many of our torments and brings illumination. And one of these is that stranger and the fear that we feel because of stranger. Somebody that I do not know, somebody that is different from me, and therefore immediately a kind of barrier comes in, and that barrier gets also translated into fear, and a reaction of that fear could be violence, could be committing certain things that we otherwise wouldn't have done had that person been known to us. But because we have this idea that it is unknown, I do not know, in psychology there is this a lot of discussion on fear of unknown. It is fear of unknown is because it is all uncertainty, what will happen. And therefore that saying also is there that the known devil is better than unknown angel. That unknown angel, we don't know whether that will be angel or what. Maybe is an angel, but it is uh, known devil, okay, is better because I know to what extent it can go. It is, and therefore, people, even though there is pain, there is suffering, still they do not want to get away from that known pain. Let me quote a passage from Narcotics Anonymous. Do we really want to be rid of our resentments, our anger, our fear? Many of us cling to our fears, doubts, self loathing, or hatred because there is a certain distorted security in a familiar pain. Mark the word familiar pain. It is pain, but it is familiar. And so we take refuge in that rather than embracing the unknown. It seems uh, safer to embrace what we know than let go of it for fear of unknown. And for a person to progress, this fear becomes a big hindrance. The meaning of progress is give up that what you have and go to something else. If you are going to have only what you have, then there is no progress. You are right there. You will not go to new territory. You will not explore the many new things that you already possess because there is fear of it. What will come out of it? And this fear becomes a very big stumbling block in progress of all types. There is this great saying that it is said, no risk, no gain. And what is risk? Risk, what will happen, we don't know. And then one always then settles in that fear and keeps on thinking about what fearful things could happen in life. And therefore clings to the so-called security of what is known. But if you examine what is known, what you already have, it is decaying and going to, you say, it is on the downward train always. It is like this body. I want to keep it safe. How long can you keep it safe? It is going. It is changing. It is always changing. Try to stop the change, and it dies. What is body? It is continuously things are changing there. And if we say no, no, I don't want it to change, well, it is death. So, because it means you don't eat, you don't breathe, because it will change, if you eat, if you breathe, it will change. It is, therefore, you cannot really be stationary. Change is the law of nature. Things do change, they must change. So we must make ourselves mentally ready to embrace it and not be scared. We have the tendency of bringing out so many fearful thoughts in us that, oh, this may happen like this, oh, that may happen like this. Keep on, bringing all those fears because something strange, something unknown that will happen. But that is the opening of the door of progress. And this is really most important when it comes to spiritual life, because we have to explore the unknown there. We have to see that what appears to be strange. And so the fear of unknown becomes the biggest stumbling block in uh, progress in spiritual life. So, therefore, when you look at this statement of Holy Mother, that the whole world is your own, no one is a stranger. No one is a stranger here. And therefore, I took up that meditation that same self is in all. That is a great statement in Vedanta, that the self here and the self there and the self there, they are not actually different from each other. The appearance is different, like the moon reflected in 100 different pots of water. Are there 100 moons? The reflections are 100, or whatever, as many as you want to make. But there is one moon. So, are there really so many different selves? One virtuous self, one vicious self, one tall self, one short self, one lean and thin self, one is a stout self. No, it is. These are the adjectives. They you say these are the qualities of the body, not really that of self. Like the pots, you can have a big pot and the reflection in the big pot of the same moon, small tiny drop, and still the same moon will get reflected in that too. So, the same self. And this understanding of the same self is really a cornerstone of spiritual life. Please do not get by the word spiritual life as if it is something strange, because again unknown will come into that too. Strangeness will come into that too. The word is used to indicate that it is life that is revolving around our true identity, rather than the life revolving our false identity. The life revolving around our false identity is technically called the life, a materialistic life. The life revolving or glued to our true identity is what is technically called spiritual life. So it is not a word that should make people feel kind of that scared. No, no, spirituality, and I don't want. It just means this, that what is our true identity, that is being told as spirit. And then to show that it is inside, to show that it cannot be caught by your sense organs or mind, it is too superfine. And so we have to weave our actions, our life around that true identity. And if we look at that, then we see that sameness. Then no one appears to be a stranger. It is the stranger idea comes when I am so and that is something else. Even very familiar people, therefore, sometimes we say, today he or she is behaving rather strangely. It is, you feel like that because they, something that is unknown, something that you were not familiar with hitherto crops up there. Change, as I mentioned earlier, is the law of nature, and therefore people feel puzzled that the face is familiar but the behavior is unfamiliar because things do change. So it is what do we respond to then? It is very important, therefore, for our not only the peace in the sense of the highest peace, but even the peace in the world, the love in the world that we expect. All that depends really on this idea that no one is a stranger. It is if we do not cultivate this awareness, this is a matter for cultivation. This awareness needs cultivation, that the same self is in everyone, and no one, absolutely no one, is a stranger. It is this cultivation is a process, and that goes on with the courage. There has to be courage. If when we think of others, see, when we think of ours, mine and say I and mine and ours, I am very charitable. It is good, nice, and so forth. They, that is, then all wrong things start getting associated with those others. Uh, and that is why many times crimes get committed against the strangers whom you see as strangers, thinking that, well, they are terrorists, they are people from some other country, they look strange. Many after 9/11, that anybody who was wearing a turban was kind of being looked with suspicion. Anybody with a Muslim name was being looked with suspicion, stranger. It is, but if we think for a moment calmly, it is all those things start disappearing. It requires courage, because this path is for the courageous. If we are scared to take the steps, then we will never be able to get rid of this fear, and will not be able to advance in the spiritual life. And so this idea is, it needs cultivation. And how that cultivation will take place? There is no other way but to take this step. It is not that it will come automatically. One preliminary step can be taken is to be in the company, even mentally, in the company of those who have taken these steps. And that will bring a reflection. Because company makes a lot of difference in our life. If we are in the company of those who are always scared to their bones, always worried, always anxious, always afraid of taking a step forward, then the result will be we will also start becoming like that. Gradually, that will set in as our way of living as well. And therefore, we should get into the company of those who have been courageous, who have that spiritual courage. And when we are in their company, we take to heart, this idea. See, they did like this, and they were not worse for that. They did, and then it brought betterment in their life. Why should I not try that step? It is, the first step is really the most important one. That, yes, let me see that the things, they are not, there is no one who is a stranger. Just let us try to feel it within our own surroundings, that they are human beings like us. They have, the same ideas that we have. They have similar head, similar eyes. It is, and thus we should proceed ahead on that plane. I remember, that we have a nice interfaith group. I like to be part of these discussions because I get a chance to interact with what could be called strangers to my faith. Strangers means in the sense that they do not exactly hold my opinion. They do not exactly go to the same church that I go to. They do not hold exactly the same sacred book that I hold in my palm. But if we take that step, and in one group, the reception that I met in the beginning was not very enthusiastic from everyone. Some were very happy and enthusiastic, but some others, they felt an inhibition. A stranger is coming in. But to their credit, this must be said, that they were ready to go ahead. And when they took that step, I took that step, and they took that step, and most of them really became such good friends. What brought this change? It brought us on a very mutually respecting, mutually cooperating, so much so that we can now criticize each others also without being that sense of inhibition that no, then that fellow will have a misunderstanding about me. The trust that we do not mean ill to anyone, that makes us fearless. And then fearlessly we can state our positions, our opinions, like that. And so this first step has to be taken, that yes, let me accept that no one is stranger. They are people like us. And irrespective of what kind of attire they put on, what kind of language they speak, yet there is this common chord in us. This commonality is the source of all love. What do we call love is really this feel of oneness. In love, the two are kind of removed, and that oneness is felt. That is the meaning of love. So, in love we see that whatever belongs to the beloved is started, you start feeling at it as it belongs to me. It is mine because it belongs to my beloved. So, that feeling of love depends essentially on oneness. And also the feeling of happiness, that very strongly depends on this oneness too. In fact, whatever we really seek in life depends greatly on the awareness of one, that one is in everywhere, it is really the same. There are no two. This idea is central also to becoming happy. That happiness that we get from various things, that also is because of that oneness. An example that I have given many times, that the cookie that I think will make me happy. Cookie there and I here, no happiness. When I and cookie become one, means I eat it, there is no separate cookie, then I feel happy about it. So it is that happiness is also, it comes from oneness. So that look at this, that how much, whatever we really want in life depends on this cultivation of this oneness. And thus, what Holy Mother says, no one is stranger. One need not be, thinking in that term, that this is a stranger, what will happen and all that. It is to be taken up as a spiritual exercise. The salespersons and all, they are trained actually not to feel that anybody is stranger for their business. It is one of my friends, he became, in schools I used to know him, and was a kind of a shy young boy. But later he became an insurance agent. And then that all that shyness just disappeared. In other respects it was there, but when it came to business, it was cultivated, that skill. So he would just go to anybody, like traveling together in the bus. So he would start conversing. Hey, okay, you do that, okay, nice. And through that conversation, slowly will slip his business through that. That it is, so it is, if he feels that they all are stranger, then even he will not be able to carry on his business, let alone the peace of mind and other things. Even carrying on the business, it depends on shedding away this idea of strangers. You see, the oneness in the world, we speak of that global village and all. Who really brought this global village idea? Those who want to do business. Right from the early times in the history, you see, they took up the traveling. The traveling was going to the strange lands was the essential part of their business. Because what is grown in one place cannot be sold in that place. If it is, you cannot sell tomatoes to those who grow tomatoes. So you have to take the tomatoes somewhere where it is a novelty. So they took up journeys, big voyages. All these, they settled in other places and became prosperous. Why? It is they did not harbor on this idea that this is strange, no, I don't want to be there. It is okay, that is an invitation to explore really. So, at the level of business also, you see, if you harbor that it is strange, this thing, I won't do business, no business can go on. It is very important that you should be able to break the barriers even to take your business forward. It is, no one is a stranger. You have to move ahead and then see that what is here is also there. That sameness has to be felt even for what is normally thought as worldly gains. When we want to get to the spiritual core of being, there is really no alternative, friends, but to expand this sphere of love. That everywhere love is to be felt as not an exercise, although initially it is to be taken up as exercise. But that exercise will make us discover the essential inherent unity. And we will see that they are not strangers. And no one is a stranger. Uh, Try to make the whole world your own. What a great statement. It is a great conquest that one can take up. Everybody has an idea. People daydream with that I became the controller, conqueror, emperor of the whole universe. Nothing is left to conquer. It is this idea is, where does it originate from? It is because on the surface of it, if you look at it just as a proposition that, okay, so let me take a sword and weapons and let me conquer, it won't work. Even the great Alexander, never defeated by anybody, but the death came. How much did he conquer? He could not conquer even the whole earth, let alone the universe. So it is a small part of the earth was conquered by him. So, but this conquering the whole universe, this idea comes because really I am the only reality. If you see it penetratively, this truth will strike us that it is really the same I that is in everyone. It is only the covering that appears different, that's all. In Swami Vivekananda's many lectures, he speaks of solidarity of the universe. Whole universe is really one single continuous spirit. It is one continuous whole. There are no two here. How will you say two? It is, just take it for example here itself. Myself and this Sukalyan sitting right in front of me. We say two. Why two? If you take at the bodies, they are again just pieces of matter floating in the ocean of matter. It is all in between. This is made of atoms, say electrons, proton, whatever it is. The air dividing between us is also made of the same thing. So there is really nothing to separate us as matter also. It is, where do you draw the line? It is not possible. The whole universe is really, even as matter, Swami Vivekananda shows that if you take just a materialistic view, still you will see that there are no two. It is all a big mass of one substance, that's it. Just as if you see this block, this podium, one podium. Now there are millions, trillions of these little particles, electrons and protons, but you still see that as one. So why can we not see this whole existence as one? There are just vibrations here and there that keep on changing, that's all, but essentially it is one existence. So this one existence is the reality, and our awareness needs to be changed to reflect that reality. The manyness that we perceive is not reality, and therefore we have to change it to match with the truth and see that there is one reality, and a step that we can take is that, well, no one is a stranger. Make the whole world your very own. Make is an important thing because it is actually your own. Why then say make? Because you are not aware of it. We draw the lines, this is mine and that is not mine, that is yours or somebody else's, that is strange. Uh, so we have to get over this feeling and it has to begin with our actions. The fear has to be pushed away. It is every time that fear comes in our minds, a kind of inhibition comes. And I respect one lady who was going to drive us somewhere, but her husband said she has never driven on highways before, alone, so she will find it, very difficult. But that lady said, Swami, look, for everything, there is the first time, is it not? For everything, there is some that first time will be there. Whenever I begin, it will be the first time. So, why not now? Why not today? So it is like that. And she did very good job. It is fear that creates lot of this, maybe this will happen and that will happen. And they do happen because the fear makes us, that our nerves don't then work properly. All that is why there is a saying that all ghosts, they come to those who are scared of ghosts. They see all the ghosts. It is one of our devotees used to say that she would always find snakes there in the marsh field. Nobody else would see them that much, but and she jokingly told me once, because I am so scared of snakes, I find them everywhere. So it is like that. Because of this fear things, we get caught into the vicious cycle that we therefore do not make progress, we do not make advancement, and what happens is our circle goes on getting smaller and smaller. It goes on shrinking and shrinking. It is to avoid this, therefore, one has to take these steps courageously. It is what can happen, what worse can happen. It is in that matter, you can we all can adopt that salesman's this training. He was told, because the salesman gets that, how can I, if I go there, they don't listen to me, I don't know them, if I just barge into their office, what will they think it is? Then he is told, look, where are you right now? You are on street. If they throw you out, where will you land in? You will come back to street again. Nothing worse is going to happen. More than that, what is going to happen? So, why not take a step full of courage and confidence that yes, no one is a stranger. A great formula to remember, no one. Each word is important. No one is a stranger. It is, and make the whole world your own. If it is not stranger, you can see by proper practice. By proper practice means taking the steps to remove that distance between I and that. And we will see that it is the same self that is there, is here as well, and thus the distance will vanish. Whole world is yours. Whole world is yours then, because you are in all the bodies, just as what you see by your eyes do not belong to I, but belongs to you. What you smell by your nose, it belongs to you. So whatever I smell not by just this nose, but by some other nose also really belongs to me. Because of my feeling that I am this and then that is all strange. It is not mine. This division comes and it blocks my progress on all fronts. So, a courageous step has to be taken. uh, One may feel risk, I am taking chances, but otherwise also you are taking chances. We were thinking of investing some money, and then of course that man could be telling because he wants to get business, but then the fact is true what he stated. I said, well, it is to invest in this, it is risky, is it not? He said, okay, if you don't invest, still it is risky, you are losing it anyway. It is, you are losing it because of the inflation, its value is anyway going down. So you are losing it anyway. Let us, and that struck me, that yes, keeping it like that means we are losing it anyway. Not just about money, about ourselves, our bodies, and all. They are otherwise on a downhill path anyway. So, therefore, the good thing, important thing is to make best use of it by advancing, by breaking these barriers and feeling that yes, there is no one is a stranger. And why we take it from Holy Mother's words is not just those words are great, but the words get power because of the life that uttered these words. Her life was an example of this. No one was a stranger for her. A village woman in Bengal didn't have any formal education, so to speak of, and yet the purity and that spiritual feeling in her was of such intensity that she could feel that oneness in all. She is called Holy Mother because she could see everybody as her child, my child. Nobody was stranger, just as in the our regular life, for mother, the child cannot be treated as stranger. So she could not treat anybody as a stranger. Everybody was her child because she could see that everything is just her vibrations. The waves rising on the ocean that she is. And in that sense, she was the mother of all, just as ocean is mother of all waves. So also she could really relate to everyone. And that love actively transformed itself. How do you know that it is really love? There are the signs. For example, if somebody you love, then that person needs something from you. You do not feel that I shouldn't give. Yes, if I can be of some service, that will be, you will do it. A loving service is the direct outcome of this feeling of oneness. So, and that does not expect anything in return. That is again a very important thing. Normal, because we are, feel that I am separate, that person is separate. What is called love, that also involves lot of give and take. That okay, I will give you this in return, you should do it me this like this. That it is a kind of bargain, and then the label of love is pasted on it. But in case of real love, there is no expectations associated with it. It is very spontaneous. There is the regular love that we call, they are like contract agreements. May not be written on paper always, but yeah, you should be doing this and you should be doing this, and otherwise I don't love you if you don't behave like this, and so many conditions they crop up. And that is, at that level it is okay. But when it comes to true love, no conditions become applicable. It is a spontaneous expression of oneness. Wherever you feel oneness, it automatically happens. It is not that when the hands are feeding the mouth, you put the food in the mouth, do the hands expect a credit for that? I am doing this great service to mouth. No, nothing, no, that because there is the oneness is so palpable there, that this thought doesn't arise at all. So wherever this oneness manifests, and no one is felt stranger then, nobody is treated as stranger then. It is a life that is so pure, so holy, because of this feeling of oneness. It is therefore these words that come from her, as before she died, this was the last message she gave. No one is a stranger, my child, and make the whole world your own. Thank you, friends.